The evil tooth fairy.
The evil tooth fairy. Welcome back to the channel. We're doing 31 days of Halloween. Today is day 3, October 3rd. This is Darkness Falls. Darkness Falls is a 2003 horror movie. It's a very, very low tier. I believe it has a 34% on Rotten Tomatoes, but this movie slaps hard. I don't care what anyone says. Come at me. I watched this movie back in high school. This was when in high school, that was when I really, really was starting to get into horror films. So I watched a ton of them. And this just happened to be one that me and my buddies rented. And I really enjoy the origin story of the Tooth Fairy and kind of other entities of that sort, like the Sandman or the Boogeyman, stuff like that. So this was a very interesting movie to watch, and I kind of feel like it also is a source of inspiration for another one of my favorite games, Alan Wake. So because it's very reminiscent. This basically what this movie is about. Actually, you know what, before we get too far into this, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to everybody who's supporting this show, all of my patrons out there. You know who you are, and thanks for keeping it going. Thanks for keeping the lights on. And go over to patreon.com/thecalvincam if you haven't already. That's the best way to donate and support the show. We also have 3 tiers that we offer, and there's a lot of good little goodies in there. And then we're having bonus episodes that's come on there every once in a while. So please, that's so helpful for us. And
also YouTube.
Yes.
Please like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, please like and subscribe on YouTube. And yeah. So let's get into this movie a little bit. The origin story of the Tooth Fairy. This lady named what was her name? Matilda. Matilda, and she lived in the town of Darkness Falls, and she would give candy to kids for their teeth, right? And then one horrible day, she got into a accident where she was burned, and then she started to be all creepy, and a couple kids disappeared, which I don't think was her fault, but this was during the witch trials era, and they hung her. And then it said that her vengeful spirit, is out for revenge on the town of Darkness Falls. So any kid who loses their teeth could succumb to the Tooth Fairy.
The evil tooth fairy.
The evil tooth fairy.
Yeah, I just like how the opening just sets this movie up, and it just gives you at least what's gonna happen in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I also watched this with my cousin Neil for the 31 days, and he was like, "Oh, I forgot how good this movie really is for what it is." It's something I would think that if Blumhouse was around, they'd do something like this. This is like a movie they would probably do a production on.
Mm-hmm.
When I was watching this movie, surprisingly, it has really good audio for when Matilda, the entity that moves around, it moves from the right channel to the left channel. It really gives you that sense of immersion when you're watching this movie. So that, along with how she moves around, the camera work that she did when she moves in the shadows with the audio, it moves from left to right. So it was super immersive, kind of really creepy when I was watching this movie.
Yeah. And it has a lot of really good build-up scares, which I really like, because you know what you're getting into with this movie. They set it up pretty quick that, light is her weakness. And basically the main protagonist, Kyle, he is a kid who gets traumatized at the very beginning. He watches his mother's death. He goes through a whole police investigation on him when he's young, because of this murder that happened in his house. And he grows up, and this girl named Caitlin, who lived in the town, her son is now experiencing this fear of getting caught by the Tooth Fairy because he's, Matilda made herself present to him, and now he knows that she's after him because he has seen her. So
Yeah, I liked the whole premise of like if Matilda sees you, you're screwed.
yeah,
Like you're screwed. Like she's gonna kill you, so you have to stay out of the light. And the whole idea of having to stay out of the light, like you said, it kind of falls back to Alan Wake in a way, like having the flashlight as protection. And you see Kyle, like he comes out of the correctional facility, you know, he's a different person, and he has like these in his workshop, he has nothing but lights to
he's
protect
got
him.
lights, he's got batteries, he's got like all these flashlights, gadgets. Like it's funny. It's campy, but it's like also really neat. And I think that's what I appreciate about this movie the most is that it's so like it's such a unique spin on a story for me because I'm like this has the potential to be a fantastic movie. It's really cheesy, but it has the potential to be something truly terrifying. So, and I like that it plays with like a real life tale, like or not a real, not that it's like actual history, but the Tooth Fairy, like we do this for our kids. We put we put money under their pillows and stuff and whatever. Sorry, kids, for any kids that are watching. I just ruined the Tooth Fairy for you. but we put the money under the pillow, and it's just plays on that mythos, of the origin of that particular act that we do. But I love the execution of the story, and I feel like it's paced pretty well. It's a little slow. There's a couple parts that do drag a bit in between, like basically the nights. Like during the day, we're just like constantly as a viewer waiting for it to be the next night, waiting for Matilda to come back and do some scares. I also like the realization of like other people in the world, like in the police station when the police finally see Matilda and they're like, oh my god, like, and then of course we have a big epic climax at the end of the film on the lighthouse, and just like that, it's over.
Yeah, Kyle brings her into the light and says, "Get out of here, bitch," or something
Yeah.
of that nature, and then he just destroys her with the light.
But yeah, I think this movie is just really charming for a 2003 horror film. Like this is something that I would, introduce to my kids like at a younger age for a horror film, you know what I mean? So
I think it's just a fun horror film, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got its spooky moments. Like I love how the whole part of this movie that's just entertaining to watch, even though I like that it's presented in the beginning, is just how she moves in the audio, like I said earlier. Just how she kills people too, like how they executed her grabbing people through the light in certain frames. Like I thought it was really entertaining. Like there's a scene where they're going up the stairs and jumping down the stairs, and if they jump out of the light, then she's gonna grab them, and she does it to a couple of the like orderlies and nurses in there when they're trying to move out of the building in the hospital. So it's just like I just like the whole idea and the premise of how she gets people and kills them.
yeah, I totally 100% agree. And I also like just I've been somebody who's been afraid of the dark for a long time, and it plays on that. Like I grew up in a house where my room had a clear view of the stairs, and like once it hits the top of the stairs, it's just completely dark. And I would like just be in my bed just staring at the top of the stairs like, oh my god, like that's so scary that there's just like this black abyss, like who knows what's down there. So I like that it preys on the innocence of childhood fear. And this is just one of my favorite parts about this film. So if I were to rate this film on a personal scale, that it it's funny because I feel like I've done this for the last two movies we've done, but I still feel like it's a 4 out of 5 movie. Like I love this movie. I watch it pretty consistently through the years, so it sits really well with me. Critically, this movie's like probably a 2.5. if not a 3. Like, but that's just, today's standards.
For this movie, I give it a 4. I enjoyed it. I was entertained watching this movie. I really like I said, I really liked the audio work. I really liked the acting was okay. It wasn't horrible. Like you said, the pacing gets a little slow, but it gets better. And I like that we already know what's happening in the story, so you're not completely lost going into this movie. You can just sit back and be entertained by watching this movie, and it's a good watch. It's not like a waste of time. I thought it was great.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for our Darkness Falls. I do have some fun facts before we end our episode that I just want to give a couple of it, give Darkness Falls the recognition it deserves, because it's such a solid film for me. So first fun fact, the closing credits run for 11 minutes. This is because without the extra time, the movie would have been considered too short to release theatrically.
Oh, okay. Is that like a thing with certain films? It has to be a certain runtime, or else
for wide release theatrical films back then, for sure. Nowadays, not so much, just because things are so available. Like we have, this happens for a lot of like cartoons and stuff, specifically anime. They'll do like the first 3 episodes of the newest season bundled together in a movie format. And there's so many short films that they'll release to theaters, but back then I feel like the industry was different, so you had to have certain credential, or not like credential, you know what I mean, like certain you have to meet certain requirements,
like the MPA had something like that.
Things like that. So right, next fun fact, the sound of Matilda Dixon's wailing throughout the film is really the sound of an elderly woman's groaning in bed. The sound was both sped up in the parts where Matilda screams and slowed down in the places where she gurgles and breathes heavily.
Which was really, like I said, was really effective when you watch it on home theater. It's awesome.
Another fun fact, in a different version of the film script, the creature only appears in the final act. The studio was not satisfied with this, so they brought Stan Winston in to create the Tooth Fairy. That would be seen throughout the film. The original design by Steve Wang bears no resemblance to the new version, although it is basis for the McFarlane Toys figure released in 2002.
There we go again, Mr. Winston,
Mr. Winston,
Mr. Savant. They get the Savant to come in.
Yeah. And then let's do one last fact. The film went through 5 titles: The Tooth Fairy, Don't Peek, Fear of the Dark, The Tooth Fairy, The Ghost of Matilda Dixon, and The Tooth Fairy, Every Legend Has Its Dark Side, before it became Darkness Falls.
I'm glad they settled Darkness Falls, because none of those feel appropriate.
Yeah. And I kind of like, again, the comparison, like Darkness Falls, go back to Alan Wake. What do we have? Bright Falls.
Yeah.
So.
And the whole, that Bright Falls, the flashlight, yeah. I can see your comparison.
The lighthouse, it's very Alan Wake. So, I wonder if Remedy
this movie
actually did that. All right, that's gonna be it for our fun facts. Thank you all so much for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Want more content? We're coming out all month. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow for our next episode.